Peace and welcome everyone to another segment of Foundational Friday on enlightenment and transformation. As it has been, and as it will be for some time going forward, I'm the conductor of this experience, Chief Yuya, otherwise known as H. Yuya San Anu. And welcome all of you who are listening live, and of course welcome all of you who will come in later through archives and so forth. And I just want to remind everyone, I mean, obviously if you're here, you know, but I've noticed that there's a huge amount of people who have not taken heed to all of the announcements that we gave for the past few months, sharing that the Monday through Friday shows would be airing exclusively on YouTube, as opposed to YouTube and Blog Talk Radio. So I don't know. People haven't caught the memo. So I'll just put it out there again, and especially in case anyone is listening, you know, if you try to call the number to listen to this show, you won't get anything. So you have to go directly to YouTube. And of course, Sunday's show is still live. You can still call in. We're still doing that on Blog Talk for now. Okay, so that one is the one that you would use, your 347-945-7680 telephone number to call in and chat with us, chop it up, share your insights and things like that. And let me say something too, because this has come up recently. You know, we have a show that is formatted and aimed at being courteous to the listener and being courteous to the participant, but the thoughts and ideas that are reflected on the show by the callers don't necessarily reflect the ideas, principles, philosophies, and calculations of the Anu Nation or the Enlightenment and Transformation Network. Okay, so I give people an opportunity during that segment to just share, you know, where they're at and maybe some of the conclusions that they've come up with and some of their gripes and things like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's my same perspective, you know, or that's what we're doing here at Anu. It just means that I've given someone an opportunity to express themselves. And for those of you who have expressed yourselves and taken that opportunity to call in and introduce yourself and, you know, speak and share where you're at, I'm also not an argumentative person. So just because you say something and I say, okay, thank you, it doesn't mean I agree with you. All right. So just wanted to put that little note there. It was kind of necessary. I noticed some recent communications where there was a little confusion as to what we do. And that's one of the reasons why we'll also be changing the Sunday format show to more, if you want to call in and share your experiences, especially if you want to let people know how the teachings have affected you over the years and how it's how you've applied them. That's awesome. We're not going to be taking as many questions anymore as we did in the past. And I know a lot of you enjoy that. And the problem is some of you enjoy it a little bit too much. It's become entertainment. So I've answered a lot of the questions. And the truth is, a lot of the things that are asked on those segments have been covered in previous shows. So I actually don't really need to answer as many things as you guys think. So I really try to open up the lines just to let people speak. You know, many of us in a space socially and familiarly where we're unable to really express and share the true authentic nature of who we are and what we do. So based on that, I try to open up a space where people can just say, all right, finally some people who can relate, some people who don't think I'm crazy, you know, who I can really speak to. So that's really what that's about. But it's certainly, you know, supposed to be more geared to helping you all. And it's done that. But there's a time and season for everything. So I'm seeing now, okay, cool. A lot of the questions that the collective audience have been answered, you know, and I always get those emails. People say, you know, I was thinking about calling in, but then someone called in and asked the same question that I had. So I was good. See, so it is serving people, that Q&A, and that's what I wanted it to do. Also to give people an opportunity to connect in a more organic way. It's still over the phone and still over the internet, but at least it's a little better than me just lecturing for an hour, for 2 hours, and then lecturing again the next day. At least there's some interaction, there's some exchange, and if you tune in to the right frequencies, you'll even feel the kinetic, exchange between callers. So it becomes a beautiful experience in that sense. And we've been able to even create some semblance of community. And, you all have heard me say for many years that there really is no Black community, or there really is no African-centered community. In the sense of what one would consider we are struggling for and working towards in terms of community. It's big as far as saying Black Hollywood. Sometimes they say that Black Hollywood, no such thing as Black Hollywood. It exists in someone's mind, just like the idea of this Black community. Oh, we got to save the community. It exists in your mind, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Through mature realism, I'll say, well, no, it's we don't have it yet. But that's the knowledge. We know we don't have it yet. Okay. But what are we imagining? We're imagining having it. Like I said, many times when I drive through certain areas, I walk through certain areas, which I enjoy doing so much. I imagine, I see the village when I see certain things and certain people and, certain activities that are just so old and ingrained and, began and existed and when it came out of the abyss that existed so far before us. When I see just certain old activities and I see certain faces of people and, sometimes you can look at a person and they look ancient. There's something about their look where you say, yeah, you may only be 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, but I could see that someone has looked like you in a very far and distant past. That sometimes it helps you to imagine and envision the village, or the nation, whatever term you like using. I like saying village, but whatever term you like to use. But here's the thing, that imagination is a critical piece, right? Wasn't it Albert Einstein who said that imagination is more important than knowledge? And there's a truth to that. Our circumference of knowledge is limited by our expansive stretch towards what we deem to be possible. That's why I said previously that sorcery and magic is nothing but doing what others thought were impossible. It's magic. And when you do that repeatedly, even if you're not using quote unquote magic, people will certainly accuse you of witchcraft. Successful people in this country are often accused of some level of occult affiliation or witchcraft because people didn't have the imagination to envision that what they actually did could be done. So the imagination plays a key piece, right? And that's what I wanted to speak about this evening. Not imagination. I've actually done a show on imagining. You should check that out. Just, hit the search button through the archives. You'll find it. But what I really wanted to speak about is the disparaging divide that sometimes creates an internal conflict and war between the things that we know, the things that we are, and the things that we elude ourselves or delude ourselves into thinking, and it's like a three-way struggle sometimes that goes on. And that three-way struggle is emphasized, fueled, and supported by one point. It's kind of like a seesaw. You got the two sides going back and forth, and there's usually just one thing in the middle, one fulcrum that keeps everything from going left or right. It just keeps it going up and down, you see. So that balancing point is what I'm talking about. And in fact, the balancing point between those two or three realities is actually a dangerous point. It's not something that's so good. Often we use that balancing point as a means to stay devoted to something that we should not be doing. You know, like we'll say you'll see somebody who's eating too much bread or something, and I'm actually speaking about something that happened to me personally. I met a individual once. We were in an environment together, and I was eating, and it wasn't really much that I could eat, so I just grabbed a bunch of bread. You know, I had like 5, 6 different pieces of bread, and I'm not even a bread eater. It doesn't do starch, doesn't do well in my system at all. But I had nothing else really to eat, and he ran up on me. He said, "Come on now, come on." He was dead serious. He's like, "That's too much bread." He spoke to me like he was speaking to his child or something. He said, "That's too much bread. Come on, put some of that back." I said, "Yeah, you're right. What am I doing? You're absolutely right. Thank you for that." But sometimes in those situations, we'll use that fulcrum point to maintain our addictions. One of the fulcrum point, the other side of the seesaw that we use is we say terms like, well, all things in moderation, right? Anytime you hear that, that's just an excuse to stay addicted to something. Some things just need to be eradicated. They don't need to be moderated and regulated, within your environment. In this country, on a larger scale, we have things that become legislated, things that shouldn't even be a part of our reality. They get written into legislation, and now we have to respect them, or honor them. Let me say that, because you guys know by now what the word respect means: to see God. Source, or ray, spect, to see. Some things you can't see the divine in, so I can't respect it. But you'll make it legislation, and now I have to honor it. And I have to honor something that goes against my very nature, creating a cognitive dissonance, which is now a conflict between my personal calculations and philosophies and my conduct. Enough to drive a person insane. So we have this idea, a lot of times, starting at the top of what not even an idea, an awareness. We have an awareness of what we are, right? And that awareness of what we are really, it's just really 2 words. It's 2 words. That's it. I am. That's it. Real deep, right? The I am aspect is what turns you into a divinity. Because the I am, anything that you put after that I am, becomes a creative point, becomes a defining point of what begins next, because of the I am. Okay. So, I am the divine. I am creative. I am omnipresent. I am all powerful. I am all knowing. I am the infinite void. I am the great expanse of nothingness. I am the collected connectedness of everything. I am. And you find that your greatest meditations and mantras come at the behest of an I am statement. Okay. So we always have to be careful even with the I ams, because the I am sometimes will confuse those with my body is. A lot of the times when we say I am, it should be replaced with my body is. How you doing? Oh man, I'm sick. My body's sick. I'm good. I'm well. My body is showing some symptoms of something. And how do we get out of that place of those symptoms, or that place of dis-ease? Aside from functioning and living like someone who is not diseased, we have to begin to think and feel like someone who is not diseased. Well, at our core and at our source root, when we truly respect ourselves, see ourselves at our source, we say, oh, there's no disease there. I'm cool. So I am well, regardless of what's going on. You see, so the I am piece is pretty easy to work with. Think about it. The I am piece is pretty easy to work with. And then after that, you have an I know. right? Now we know that we're in Aquarian age, so they say. So they say we're in the Aquarian age, and with the Aquarian age reality, it's the I know, coming out of the Piscean, I believe, which was the age of religion and faith, right? And the I know is now, which has everyone putting the word doctor in front of their names. The I know is what has everyone on social media posting thoughts and philosophies of their own as if they are matter of fact. Why? Because I know. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not, I'm making fun slightly, but I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. It's just a sign of the age. It's a sign of the time. It's time to be the knower. It's not even time at this point to be the researcher so much, believe it or not. If you really look at how the world moves today in terms of the channeling and the funneling of information through various portals throughout the net, what you'll find is that on that web, what reigns supreme is not, or who reigns supreme is not necessarily who holds the most information, but who determines, who makes the determination for you as to where you would get said information. Who says, go there, go there, go there. Now, obviously, we know Google is, the god of the internet. That Google is the elders of the internet, the 12 elders. But this concept and this idea, concept and idea of knowing becomes a very easy safari when you learn to navigate the jungles of the internet, because the research has already been done for you. All you really have to do is just, we're in a world of cliff notes now. You don't have to actually go as deep. Now, should you still go as deep? Yeah. But it's not for everyone. Everyone's not a scholar. That's just the truth of it, and I know some people don't want to hear that, but, we all have our talents. And it's going to be things that you're going to be willing to invest yourself in, and it's going to be things that you're not. It's just real simple. There's going to be some things that you want to go through the burn of, and some things you don't. And sometimes that changes as we get older, especially you find with technology. I know people who are still using flip phones. Because it works. It works. I don't need all that other stuff. I just need to make a phone call. Not realizing that maybe some of that other stuff could make their life more convenient. But, there's always the new guard has to come in and the old guard has to fade out. That's just how things work. The new gods come in, the old gods go out. We're going to be covering that a little bit more in 2016, so new gods and old gods. I think you guys will enjoy that a lot. But anyway, so we have the idea of the knower, of course, right? And that knowing or that knowledge becomes the currency for life experiences. The knowing, the more I know, the more I can, the more doors are opened up to me. Okay, so knowledge becomes the currency for the planet and reality. So they say, oh, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. In a sense, knowledge is potential power. Knowledge is potential energy. Certainly. The experience of the applied knowledge becomes the kinetic energy. It's in motion now. Now we're doing something, but knowledge has certainly become the new currency. It is the new currency. So we have the knower, right? And then underneath that, we have the believer. Okay. And the believer is the one who believes the lie. The believer believes the lie. So, and I know so many people say, oh, belief is so important. I've had people say that to me. I've heard you say that you don't deal with belief, but belief is such a critical thing. And, you don't know what you're talking about. That's all. Go define the word, and then we'll work from there. Some words we have a sentimental attachment to. So when people start to dismantle them, it's like, no, you can't take that from me. I need that. What would I be without that? And that's because they're still stuck in the old age. They're still stuck in the old age of belief. And we've long since. So in acknowledging the changing times or the changing seasons, we have to acknowledge when certain things that we may be trying to use now are no longer effective, coming up to the age of the know. And you see this, there's an upward ascension coming from the survival era to the belief era to the knowing era, and then eventually it will be to the being era, to be able to really totally self-actualize. That's what really that awareness, the higher awareness is, or that I am reality, or that God reality, that divine reality. When you can claim and or reclaim your position and be restored to your rightful position on the universe, in the galaxy, as a deity that you know yourself to be, to yourself, then you come into a place of self-awareness and self-actualization. And keep in mind, I said the deity that you are to yourself. Unfortunately, because of our sentimental attachments to things, when people start saying deity and God and things like that, they immediately attach those concepts with old lessons that they've learned about who and what God is. They say, well, if you God, make that door fall down, or make this or make that. So God is now a superhero. God's got all the superpowers. And it sounds cool to say. We can put it on a t-shirt and it's cute, or a bumper sticker and stuff like that. But, at some point you got to grow up. You can keep playing around with the little kiddie information, or you can step into some real knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, so you can start to self-actualize and get back home. Wouldn't that be nice to get back home eventually, right? To shake this disease off, finally cure it. What's the disease? The disease is life. We'll say that for another show. But anyway, so we have these the triad, of belief, knowledge, and actualization, or awareness, right? And the triad is really, they're components that don't need to work together. So you know how, like, we normally say we got the root chakra, we got the crown chakra, and they work hand in hand. God and the devil work hand in hand. Light and dark work hand in hand. Well, these are actually concepts. These are walls that we have to break through. We have to get back to that place of self-awareness. But each stage in our progression is a necessary stage. It's necessary to go through your survival mode. It's necessary to go through your belief mode, because you need to be enthused and charged up. And then it's necessary to go through your knowledge mode. You got to know what you were charged up about, and then be able to map and pick a more rightful direction, and then use that direction to bring you into a place of self-actualization where you go beyond thought. Okay. So what is this dangerous fulcrum that I've been speaking about for the past 20 minutes and have not brought up yet? You're going to be surprised when I tell you how simple it is. I'm telling you. I think when I tell you how simple it is, you're not going to believe me. I mean, this really could have been like a 30-second show, to be honest with you. But like I tell you, it's 20% divination, 80% psychology. I got to take you all around and take you on this trip with me, and so you can grab hold and see what I see, and touch what I touch, and feel what I feel. And then the answers, no matter how simple they are, they will become much more clear to you. Sometimes we like I said last night, we have this real misunderstanding, when it comes to the enormity or the profundity of information. We feel that it has to come in a big bang, just like our life purpose comes down in a big bang, because we have these dreams. I had a dream and I was speaking and teaching 5,000 people, and they were following me all around the world. And everybody has that. Can't tell you how many times I heard vision. And I know when I just said it, somebody said, he's talking to me. You know how many times I've heard that? I had a dream, and then they always come when they tell me, and you were a part of it. Somehow you supposed to train me so I can do that. So I'm Apollo Creed and you're Rocky. I'm stronger than you. I'm bigger than you. I can fight better than you. But I'm going to train you so you can go out. I'm not going to just go do it myself. This is Star Trek, and I'm Spock, and you're Kirk. I'm the smartest one on the ship, I'm the strongest one on the ship. I'm the one who's least affected by emotions on the ship, but I'm not the captain. I can't be the captain. And this one is over here just doing dumb things left and right and sleeping with aliens, catching who knows what, but he's captain because he's got the slick sideburns and the perm. So that idea, a lot of times, that we all are getting ready to embark on this huge mission, and when we get there, it's going to be so beautiful. What you talking about is heaven. Your idea of heaven, at least. When you finally arrive to this point, no such thing, family. I'm not lying to you. There's no such thing as this final arrival or destination. Even after you transition, you think you're done? Energy doesn't work that way. Now, energy is the closest thing that you could ever make sense of when you want to speak about a God. It's always moving. Your truth is always moving, just like your wisdom is always expanding. Your body's always changing. That's why it's always a foolish thing to identify with the body. As you start getting older and you get that spread and you can't seem to get back down to where you were before. And you're like, man, I can't. And you start going through that's why the nostalgia and the sentimentalism could be dangerous. You start going through those old pictures. Man, look at, I didn't have any waist back then. And my skin was glowing. And yeah, that was then. This is now. Yeah, you were Maserati then. You were a sports car then. Now, you're a smart car, a used smart car. We're rickety shopping carts. I've told you that many times. Just rickety shopping carts with that one leg in the front that keeps spinning around. That's your body. It's consistently and constantly changing, and it has to continue to dissolve and to depreciate in order for your soul and your spirit to rise and break out of it. Body that's too strong, spirit can't get out of it. So this idea of this big bang is not going to happen. So what it is that you have to be that thing that you imagine to be your great purpose right now in the moment. Now, if you say, well, I had this vision, I'm healing 5,000 people, doesn't mean now you get on YouTube and start telling people about healing and stuff, because you don't know anything. You read something, or as you're going, you're reading something off of Wikipedia or something like that, and then I got my own show now. Just call me King so-and-so or Queen so-and-so. No, you can plant small seeds of that healing. There's different forms of healing. Helping somebody walk across the street, it's a job of a healer. Helping someone, you're in the parking lot, people asking you for a jump. Hey, could you help me with my car? You have jump kit. Helping them jump their car so they can get back home is a form of healing. There's so many different ways to heal. Checking on your neighbors is a job of a healer. When you have elderly, or if you have things in your house that people can use and that you don't really totally appreciate anymore, giving them to someone who would really appreciate them and use them, that's a form of healing. Your gratitude is a form of healing. Like I said last night, acknowledging people by their first name, making a connection, is a form of healing. So we have to imagine. Like I've told you guys before, fake it till you make it. Or like I said, when I used to always tell my students, just copy what I do until you figure out what you're supposed to do. Just copy me. Don't imitate me though. Emulate me. Make sure it's inside. Take on the personality. Invoke me like if I was a deity. Don't just put it on like a coat. Imitation doesn't have as much for impact as emulation. Imagine if Denzel Washington, when he did the movie X, if he would have emulated Malcolm X. Imagine if Will Smith would have emulated Muhammad Ali. Imagine if Malik Yoba would have emulated Martin Luther King. You get my point. And we'll throw Angela Bassett, and we can't forget about Angela. If she had emulated Betty Shabazz, or what's the other girl? Jennifer Hudson, emulating Winnie Mandela. And sometimes actors end up doing that, and they die tragically as a result. Okay. So one of the key things that we want to look at here is that before we get to that great and glorious space and place of what it is we say we want to be and who it is that we say we want to be, we have to be that now. The I am has to occur before your physical body or your physical reality catches up to the I am. The I am can be activated right now in the moment. It doesn't have to wait until you feel like I am. You see, well, just like wellness doesn't wait until you feel well, because your feelings are transitory. One day you're happy, one day you're cold, one day you're sad. One day you're randy. You could be all different things because feelings are so transient in that sense. But it is the imagination going beyond the knowing, but the imagination going into the place of I am and awareness is what creates. It trickles down. It's trickle down effects, and it trickles down into the physical to create that true reality. Now, he still didn't tell us what the fulcrum is. What is the biggest problem? What is the locked door in all of this, that when we're trying to do this work, or we're trying to envision ourselves on that higher plane or manifest our highest ideas, what is the door that we lock so that we can't get there? And we lock it. We do it to ourselves. Simple word. One simple word. I'm going to tell you. It's the word but. B-U-T. That's it. But. But even though a lot of times we say, but is born universal truth. Well, some say that. You guys may not know about that. I would posture from an Anu perspective that but is dangerous, because sometimes you'll be teaching people stuff. You've heard it on my shows before. You've heard it when I've done sessions, and I'll be explaining things to a person and they'll say, that is so true. You are so right. I know. But now the I know is on a higher level. Okay. Picture I know being in the head. Okay. I know is in a higher space. And as soon as you say but, you fall down into the corruption of the body. That's what the but is. Okay. So I know is not as high as I am. I know is not as high as I be. But at the same time, it's a whole lot higher than I believe. And the belief is always preceded by the but. So sometimes even when we're speaking about, I've heard this argument a million times with polygyny. I've heard women say this in particular. Oh, I've studied polygyny. I've looked at it. I think it's wonderful. It's awesome, and I don't have a problem with it. Or especially like those who are Hebrews, and they'll say, yeah, and the Bible speaks about polygyny, and it's been ordained, by the Most High, but it's not for me. Okay, so your God tells you that this is a good thing to do. You look into your community, you see that it's a necessary thing right now, but I'm not sharing my man. Well, what part is speaking now when you say that part? Because you don't own anyone. I mean, unless you have a slave, but you don't own anyone. And don't you teach your children to share? When did you decide that you wanted to stop sharing? Now, I'm just using that as an example as how dangerous that but is. The but takes you away from your knowledge. The but takes you from knowledge into the corruptive state of the flesh, where now we're dealing with the lower chakras. We're going to fall right down into the root, into survivalism. I know what you're saying is right, Chief Yuya. I know, I got to get my life together. I got to do this. I got to do that. But it's so hard. Well, where's the difficulty? Where's the struggle? The difficulty and the struggle is always in your flesh. It's never in your consciousness, because your consciousness doesn't struggle at all. Your consciousness makes the statement, I am. Done. And it sits every time you go back to check and divine and check with the consciousness and say, okay, well, what about now? The consciousness says the same thing. I am. Yeah, but I'm not feeling like it, consciousness. You cast to your Ori, you do your divination, you go back to it again. What about now? I am. You see, it never changes its posturing. It never changes its position. It's your body that's transient, because your consciousness, the reflection of your soul, is eternal. And that which is eternal does not change. It grows, it expands. And what it really does, more than growing and expanding, I'm going to show you what the soul does and your consciousness does. it moves things from away from it. It moves the things that are around it. It creates a great expanse around it. That's why the soul and that vibratory energy of the spirit is so closely linked to the Orisha Olokun. Olokun meaning the owner of the spirit of the seas, but Olokun, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the seas, represents space. What else would the soul want and desire but space? Space to roam, space to discover, space to explore, and it uses the spirit to go travel through those spaces. The spirit is the wind. The wind goes everywhere, right? So anytime you check back with yourself and with your higher reality, your higher knowing, you're always going to come into a place where I am those things that I imagine. If I had the dream that I was teaching people and doing this and doing that and healing people, I am that. That's what sometimes people will call us to the they'll say, I'll say, well, what are you supposed to be doing? I'm a healer. Oh, who you been healing? No one. Why not? I know it's what I'm supposed to be doing, but as soon as I hear the but, at some point I'm going to be doing video on the shows. You'll see me, and you're going to see what my face does when I hear the but. That's when I just my eyes go out of focus, and I just kind of start looking around the room for something to play with while the person's talking, because I know whatever comes after that but is pretty much garbage. You remember the emotional trash that I talked about? It's the waste product. It's the waste product of knowing your fear. I know I'm supposed to be a leader, but I'm afraid. Well, the afraid is the feces of the knowing. It's the waste product of the knowing. You see, the fear is the waste product of the knowing. So I don't want to sit here and listen to you talk sugar, honey, iced tea. So I go back to I hear that. So you told me you're a healer, huh? And if you listen to me, I'll just keep saying that. You're a healer, right? You're a healer. Okay. I just keep coming back to the awareness of what the I am is, because I'm going to respect you, meaning I'm going to see the God in you. Okay. It's the only thing the word means. You don't have to get deep. Or respect means to care about people. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. To see God, or to see the source. That's respect. Ra, Re, source, or it also means to go back. Ra, Re also means to read. Interesting enough. Read, go back, source, spect, see. Go back and see what you originally read. What is written on the scroll? When you see a person, sometimes you can see symbols in their face. What is written on that scroll of their personage? What is written in their divine continents? Go back and look at that and speak to that. Speak to that power. Speak to that awareness. Stay away from that but. That's the scariest part. Whenever that comes in, doubt comes in. Lies come in. Illusion comes in. Either you know or you don't know. Well, I know I'm supposed to be connecting with my ancestors, but I'm scared. Well, if you're going to find that whatever comes after that but, like I'm scared, is never going to be rooted in anything that's logical or rational. It's going to usually be phobia based. What came before the but is going to be the real thing. Supposed to connect to my ancestors, but I'm scared. Then if we say, why are you scared? You're going to hear a bunch of silliness. I'm scared of the dark. And what if they do something to me? Well, who told your ancestors to do something to you? Oh, that's right. You grew up watching Scooby-Doo, and they were always being chased by mummies all the time and ghosts. And then underneath the ghost was actually just the sheriff of the town or something like that. So all of that stuff was made to be harmful and scary. So of course, you would feel like that. I get it. And then movies like The Mummy come out, in which are really about your ancestors, but the mummies are here trying to kill everybody. Or shows like Stargate that used to come out, and they have all these names of these Necharu, and they're actually the villains of the show. They even had Olokun in Stargate. So, it's just something to give some thought to when you're discounting and disproving your own divinity by using that word but. All right. This has been our Foundational Friday. I am Chief Yuya. Thank you for listening. I will be right back Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern on Chief Speaks on the High Frequency Radio Network, as well as Enlightenment and Transformation. Remember, you can always call in at 347-945-7680, Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we can chat. All right. So what I would like you to do going forward, pay attention to the amount of times that the word but comes out of your mouth, especially when you're identifying or you're trying to make a connection to you and your higher self, and more specifically to your higher calling. See how many times you say but, and fix it. All right. Until such time, Hotep, Aquaba, Odabo, Uhuru Sasa. Peace.